Hello, 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 hello. Good morning. Welcome. My name is Lee Cara. This is Unleash Your Light. I am broadcasting live on both Facebook and on YouTube. So if you are glitchy over here on Facebook, please move over to YouTube. If you don't know me on YouTube, go on over to Facebook and follow me. I'm excited to be here today, y'all. We have so much going on in the world at this moment. I'm going to adjust this one just a little bit here. Let me see. Oh, there we go. All right. Okay, so I'm already glitchy over here on Facebook, y'all. Hi, Ingrid. So I hope you guys are having a fabulous week. As I said, this has very much been an interesting time, not just in the United States, but in the entire world. And it points out a lot of things in ourselves and in the world around us and in the planet around us about the arrogance of Americans. A little bit of that, a little bit of the arrogance within ourselves, right? It's all a reflection of what's going on within us. And so this is going to be another one of those shows. Last week, the show was on spiritual blind spots. And so the show on spiritual blind spots, of course, is a little bit triggering. Hi, Mary Jane, welcome. Of course, the show on spiritual blind spots is a little bit triggering. People get a little bit up in their feelings about stuff. They get offended. They feel challenged, like I'm calling them out personally. Thank you, Mary Jane. This is not about me calling anyone out personally. If you are out there and feel like I'm calling you out personally, it's not about me, it's about you. It's about how you look at yourself. It's about digging inwards. It's about looking at your own actions. And there's no judgment coming from me in your direction, just so as you know. It's always very fascinating to do these shows and then to kind of see what happens afterwards and who leaves in the middle and who is like, oh, I'm not dealing with this. So I always say, and if y'all watch me, you know, hi Georgia, hi Tanya Lee. If you watch me, then you know that I always say if something gives you a strong reaction, that means it's a place in you that needs a little bit of extra love, no matter what that topic is. Let me take a sip here. So this is definitely a trigger warning. Just letting you know. Hi, Lori. How are you? Just letting you know, this is definitely a trigger warning. So all of you who get easily offended, all of you who don't like it when people say things that you may or may not agree with, before you decide I'm just going to turn it off, save it for later. This is what I always say. Something gives you a strong reaction, save it for later. Because it may be something that you need to hear. Okay? So let's just dig right into this, shall we? There is a lot going on in the world right now, and it is a reflection, a macrocosm of the microcosm. Just like I say that we are a microcosm of the macrocosm of the world at large is reflecting our own space of fear in this moment. Hi, Marla, welcome. The world at large is reflecting our own spaces of fear, and not that we created this, although it is all a part of the cycle that we agreed to live on during this lifetime. It is our reactions to fear. It was our first orb. It is our reactions to fear. It is the way we express fear. It is how we interact with others through fear that is on display right now. And culturally, how it is different and how it displays itself differently around the world has been incredibly obvious during this time that we are dealing with the coronavirus, with COVID-19, with whatever it is that you like to call it. So I live in the States. For those of you who aren't in the States, as you're probably watching the States going, what is going on? Because this is a virus. This is something that does not decide, I like what you think, so I'm going to affect you, and I don't like what you think, so I'm going to affect you. Infect you, I guess. So what I wanted to address was the trends that I am seeing happening in my communities at large here locally, as well as the online communities that I run in, that I interact in. And it's interesting because so much of our interactions on Facebook in our life, almost in everything, are based in a space of fear, right? If we want to look at homophobia, people who lash out and people who hate the gays are often because they're of their own fear, right? The homophobia within them lashes out because they don't understand. Often prejudice, the fear of somebody different, somebody a different color, somebody with different culture, somebody coming over, the border. This is another thing that is created from fear. The anger comes from fear. Welcome, Rick. Welcome, Patricia. So the virus that is happening right now is a more clear expression of fear without being tainted through some sort of a societal filter. So when it comes to things like prejudice, when it comes to things like politics, when it comes to things like that, there is a societal filter based on, are you right or are you left? Do you like LGBTQ or do you not? Are you racist? There's all these filters, societal filters. But a virus doesn't have a societal filter, obviously, because it's going through societies all across the world, all around the world. So this is a way that our fear becomes incredibly obvious to everyone. And yet, here we are operating in this space of fear and not recognizing it for what it is. So let me dig into this here. Are you ready? See, look, I itched my face, y'all. But don't worry, I'm in my own house. I am not here to tell you that the coronavirus is real or not real. I am not here to debate whether it is bad or good. I am not here to debate whether it's going to kill 10 people, whether it's going to kill 10,000 people. I am not here to debate whether it is a hoax purposefully to try to take Trump out of office, and I am not going to debate any of that stuff. So that's right off the bat. What I am going to discuss are those actions, are those things, are those comments, because those are the things that fear brings up. So whether you are a conspiracy theorist, whether you are a progressive, whether you are conservative, whether you are a Trump devotee, whether you are someone who hates Trump, whether you are someone who believes that we should not be listening to the things of the world because everything is an illusion and I don't have anything to do with that. Guess what? A virus doesn't care if you don't get involved. Whereas the political thing, if you decide you want to step out, that's on you. A virus doesn't care whether you say, I'm not on one side or the other, and I don't believe that any of this exists. It doesn't care. Just like the polar ice caps melting don't care whether you pay attention to it or not. But here in this virus situation, in the States, we have had a lot of insults, diminishing, demeaning, mocking, laughter, and exactly, Maiden. See, I'm right there with you. And I'll sum it up in a way that my son and I, my 16-year-old and I, were having a discussion about this. While the virus itself may not be as hurtful. Oh, that was a good one. Did you guys see that orb? While the virus itself may not be as deadly as some of the other things that have passed through, the Ebola, the SARS, all of those doodad things, right? Hello to Bula Rasa. While it may not be as deadly, it is more communicable. And it so because it's more communicable, it's going to affect a larger portion of the population. And while a huge part of the population will only have coughing, sneezing, fevers, that sort of a thing, there is also a large proportion of the population that will have more than that. Okay. And they are finally saying, yes, that's a thing, that's actually going to happen. Now, here's where the fear comes into this, okay? When we watch our news here in the States, when we watch television, when we read articles, when our officials come out and say things, the information that is coming out may or may not be true. Now, if you're a conspiracy theorist, you never believe anything the government says, right? If you are a spiritual person who doesn't believe in being human and that it's all an illusion, then you don't believe anything anyone says. It's all an illusion anyway, so why should I care? It seems like if you are on the left here in the States, if you tend to have a more progressive idea of things, that you are a little bit more worried, that you are a little bit more hungry for information about this, and you are a little bit more desirous of being educated and on what is going on. And it seems that if you are on the right-hand side of things, that you are more diminishing, more dismissive, more on the right-hand side of things, that you are more diminishing, more dismissive, more. Some of my friends who are posting about, oh, it's not a big deal and all you need to calm down. It's not a big deal for you, perhaps. Perhaps you are healthy. Perhaps you don't fall into one of these categories of people who are going to be affected. Perhaps your grandparents are not in a nursing home somewhere where someone's infected. Perhaps you're not 40 weeks pregnant. Perhaps you are not suffering from an autoimmune disease. And so when you come out and start saying it's nothing, it doesn't mean anything, only 2% of people are going to die, you are blessed to not be in that 2%. And yet, where does that come from? That energy of only 2% of people are going to die. That dismissing of the loss of human life as if it doesn't matter. That dismissing of people's fears as if it's funny actually comes from a place of fear in and of itself. That sort of attitude comes from a space of bravado, comes from a space of fear, comes from a space of trying to make ourselves feel bigger, feel more, feel like we are smarter than maybe what we are. Because in this situation, there are so few facts. And especially if you are of the belief that no news except for one has the only facts. And that one is saying, ha ha ha, isn't it funny that they're all freaking out? Or that you think no news has the facts. If you're in that category, you may also be in that space of, ha ha ha, isn't this funny that everybody is freaking out? And yet, people are dying. There is a level of empathy that should be embraced by those of us who call ourselves light workers. And yet, what I see is, I told you so's. I see, you guys are the stupid ones. I see, we always knew this was going to happen. I see, this is nothing. They're just telling you this to destroy the economy. They're doing this on purpose to bring down Trump, who is the savior of the world. Let me take a little sip. And then an argument ensues when somebody tries to say, but people are dying. But people are dying. So I just want to say here, people are dying. And so this is a space where each of us, no matter what your views are, need to be very aware of what we are saying and why we are saying it. Like I said, that bravado and that insulting and that kind of a, ha 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 thing comes from a place of fear. A bully strikes from a place of fear. And that is not to say that everyone who posts like that is a bully. I'm not calling you out. Once again, I said at the beginning of the show, I'm not calling anyone out. I'm trying in this show, what they are wanting me to get across is respect in that space of fear. Respect for how others feel. If somebody goes in to give you a hug and you say, oh no, thank you, COVID bubble, that person who's leaning in needs to be respectful of that choice that you make and not laugh at you and not mock your choice. If you chose to cancel speech classes and then Uncle Dave says, oh, you're a stupid little girl canceling speech classes, that does not help the fear situation. Let's take it down even simpler. When you're a little kid and maybe you fear going to the dentist, did your family teasing you because you were scared of the dentist make you less scared? And is it possible that your parents were teasing you because they were also nervous about you going to the dentist or nervous about the dentist in general for themselves? And teasing you is a way for them to cover up their own fear. This is what is happening on the grander scale. When we don't recognize the emotions that come up for what they truly are, the mocking, the teasing, the laughing at things, the pointing, ha ha, like Nelson on The Simpsons, that comes from a place of lack inside, a place of fear that we carry within us. And you may be blessed that this won't affect you. You might not get infected at all. You might get infected and it's just a cold, like 89% of the people that it affects. You might get affected and you're a little bit sicker than a cold. But there are also people who will be infected and who will die. And so to express yourself through this fear, through anger, through mocking, through laughing, through diminishing, through demeaning, through telling people that they're stupid, you create a larger fear state. You create a bigger space for that fear to culminate, for that fear to incubate, to marinate. You add to the problem. You don't become a part of the solution. And if you are here, you are most likely a light worker. And so we are tasked with being a part of the solution. Oh, thank you, Kathleen. Kathleen, it's so nice to see you. We are tasked with becoming part of the solution. And it is empathy and respect that can shift this into something different. It is empathy and respect that can take us into a new space of understanding and a new space of caring about our fellow man. And we are resisting it, kicking and screaming here in the States, let me tell you. If we compare societally how the different societies deal with fear, we can see a huge difference between the way that South Korea dealt with it and the way that Italy is dealing with it and the way that the States are dealing with it, the way that China has dealt with it. And you can almost see the difference in how those societies deal with their own fears. Especially South Korea. South Korea has lived in a constant state of fear for decades. They literally border with their most mortal enemies, even though they're all just people. But if we're going off of political, they're bordering on their enemies and can be overtaken at any moment. There could be an invasion any second, every moment of the day if you live in South Korea. That's just a fact. And so it seems like the population there is better equipped to deal with fear. And so when this started, they did not react from a place of fear, saying it can't happen to us, and turn away and not face what's going on. They dove into it head first. They have drive-throughs where you can get swabbed and diagnosed like this. They were literally proactive through their fear and have gotten a handle on this situation. And I truly believe it's because their population is emotionally better able to handle fear. Here in the States, when we talk about fear, I would say a good 80% of the population never actually has to deal with a mortal fear. A mortal fear, like a fear of losing their life on a daily basis, where maybe you're in physical danger, or you don't have enough to eat, or you're worried about, being ravaged by bears in the wilderness. Here in the United States, what we call fear is, I'm afraid so-and-so won't love me. I'm afraid of blocks that don't line up properly. I have fear and anxiety of, going out in public and people laughing at me. I have fear about my emotions. We have fear about our emotions. We have fear that we won't be perceived properly. We have fear in those spaces. We have very little mortal fear for our lives. And that has shifted how we respond to fear. And I've done shows on fear. Fear is a primal emotion that is to be used in situations where our lives are in danger. It's meant to motivate us and push us to run when the killer is at the door, to push us to run when there's a wild animal chasing us, to push us to forage harder and to work harder so that we can eat in the wilderness. Our fear is not meant to be used on a daily basis in our regular day-to-day emotional life about, I'm afraid I won't find the right brand of cereal. I'm afraid I'm going to have to wear a shirt that makes me feel bad. I'm afraid that when I go to the doctor, they're going to tell me something bad. Yes, these are not great things. They are not fun. They are not great to go through. But we have engaged our primal fight or flight emotions with things that are not fight or flight. And it creates a different response in us when actual fight or flight comes up, like this virus. When actual things that can kill us come up, we as Americans. So because of that, it's created this space where when an actual crisis arises, we have a hard time responding. We have a hard time reacting. We have a hard time dealing with it. We are blessed that we don't have those things day to day for the most part. We are blessed in that. And so we don't recognize fear when it comes up. Although I have to say, I was speaking with my 16-year-old many times. We've talked about the difference between people in his age group, that teenager through early 20s, and older generations. And one of the things that we discuss is that his generation has a very nihilist point of view. Now, if we look back to the 80s, that punk rock movement was really about, we're going to blow up. It was a response to the Cold War. We're going to blow up the world anyways, so F you. And let's just destroy everything and have no governments, and we'll just blow up the world, right? And if the world's going to blow up, then I'm going to destroy everything. Whereas now, that nihilist point of view that the younger generation has is reflected in things that are lighthearted, life that is a little bit more trivial. They are focusing a lot on the things they're doing right now, the fun that they're having, the things that are going on in their day-to-day life, And I saw a story this morning that was talking about how they were interviewing kids on a college campus about this, and the sales of young people buying plane tickets has actually gone up because they feel like they're going to be able to maneuver this outbreak in a way that they're going to survive, that they're going to be okay. So we might as well take advantage of the low prices and travel down. Because we won't have to stand in line as long at Disney World, because we're going to get, cheap flights. And if the world's going to go to hell, then we might as well have fun while it's happening. So it's a variation on that punk rock thing, which was we're going to destroy everything. And nowadays they're just like, oh, let's have fun while we can. And it's an interesting reaction to this situation in this younger generation. And I almost think that it is their fear response. Because if we think about the world that they grew up in, I talked about South Korea and how they're always on the verge of they could be invaded at any moment. My 16-year-old has never lived in a world that didn't have 9/11. My 16-year-old has never lived in a world that wasn't constantly at war with another country or fighting a conflict in another country. And so they have a different response to fear than someone who is older, like a Hannity, like a Trump, like the people that I went to high school with that are posting all you people are stupid for even playing into this. Our fear response is based on the life that we've led. Our fear response is based on the way that we process our own fears. And as I said, societally, you can see how each country has dealt with things differently. I think generationally even, we are dealing with things differently. So I would just like to remind everyone out there that this response that we have, this thing that comes up, and whether it's to be way too overly, oh my God, everyone's going to die, or whether it's to be way, y'all need to chill because there's nothing going on and this is all a hoax, way into the conspiracy side. Respect for another person's opinion is paramount in this time. Because when we disrespect someone else, we are fertilizing the fear. We are fertilizing the separation between us and them. Because we are all connected. I am you and you are me. And the peace of God or the light or whatever you like call it, Fred, it doesn't make a difference, that is in you, there's also one in me. And we are all connected through it. And so when you disrespect me, you are actually expressing your own fears out loud to yourself. To yourself, whether you recognize it or not. But now you have splatted them out onto someone else and spread it, much like a virus. The disrespect and the diminishing and the laughter spreads just as quickly and just as insidiously as the virus does. Just as the fear, if you walk around with that sense of, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, that will also spread just as insidiously as the virus does. So the best thing that we can do is to find sources of news that are not leaning left or right. And here in the States, that's borderline impossible. But you can look at news overseas. The best thing that you can do is to not challenge those who are making fun, who are poking fun. Because when we do that, we add to the fear algorithm. We add to the disrespect algorithm. Because our lives work within a Google bubble, our energetic reality works much like the Google bubble, much like the algorithm on Facebook. And I've done entire shows on this. If you go on Facebook and you see something that makes you mad, and you start typing about it and comment on that post, Facebook is going to show you 5 more posts just like that within less than 10 minutes. Why? Because you interacted, because you responded, because Facebook doesn't know whether you're saying I like this or I don't like this unless you click the little thing, don't show me this anymore. If you just respond, now it's showing you everything about that. So we have to be careful in our real lives how we respond to these things. I know Facebook doesn't care one way or the other, it's just the response. But in our real lives, hi Brian, in our real lives, what we are doing is adding to the fear, adding to the disrespect. It is up to each one of us to monitor what we are doing, what we are saying, how we are reacting, so that we don't disrespect someone else's fear. Just like parents with a little kid who's scared to go to the dentist. When they're teasing their kid, it's disrespectful. It's hurtful to the child. It's not actually helping him to understand what happens at the dentist. It's not helping him to deal with his fear about what's going on, to point the finger and laugh at the child, or to make fun of him, or to tell him he's a baby, or whatever it is that parents say. They think they're helping. Oh, it's not a big deal. You should just stop it. They're not going to do all that. It's the same thing that's coming across from the people who are in the belief system that this is no big deal, who are in the belief system that believes that this is all kind of a hoax and it's a media hype. And that's fine for you to believe that. Believe whatever you want. People are dying. One person dying is too many. And let's not equivocate by saying, yeah, but people die of the flu every year. Yeah, that's bad too. It doesn't make this less bad because it happens in other situations. There's no equivocation when it comes to people dying. And having respect for the emotions of others, allowing them to have their opinion without diminishing them, demeaning them, telling them they're idiots. This goes in both directions. I'm not pointing in either direction because it happens from the other side too. It happens from all sides of this argument, the science side, the progressive side, the conservative side. Guess what? Viruses don't have sides. Actual facts and science don't have sides. How we filter those facts, how we perceive those facts, that's the human. That's the human. And if you refuse to participate in humanity, that's a whole other thing. I've said it many times. This is my dirty little secret. I love being human. I participate in what goes on in the world. I participate in my community. I participate in life. I don't pretend it's all an illusion. Because you know what? Even if it's an illusion, guess what? I'm a part of that illusion right now. We are human in this moment. No matter how enlightened you are, whether you're the Dalai frickin' Lama, the Dalai frickin' Lama is human right now, living in a human world that has human problems. And what's the point of being here if we're not diving in to heal these problems? Division does not heal. Adding to the fear does not heal. Disrespect does not heal. You may think that you're doing a public service by saying it's not a big deal. What you are doing is stoking more fear. And if you go through life not caring where you drop your grenades of truth, your truth, you are lacking an essential piece in your awakening. We talked about this last week when I talked about spiritual blind spots. So many people in spirituality drop these truth bombs, what they call truth bombs, and they don't care how it affects where it lands. That's my truth. I'm just going to say it. That seems like if you can't deal with it, that's a you problem. And it partially is a me problem. Absolutely. Because I'm going to have a reaction to the truth bomb that you are dropping. And how I react is for me to look at, to deal with, to dig into. Why did this bother me so much? Why has this hurt me so much? Why was I so affected through this? What does this trigger in me? Right? The superiority or the anger or the disrespect or the laughter, the mocking. What is that triggering in me? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It is my space to look at that. However, it may not be your space to drop that kind of bomb. It may not be your space to drop that kind of bomb. What in you feels compelled to drop a bomb that you know will hurt people, that you know will trigger people, that you know will cause people pain and worry? If you must drop a bomb, there are ways to be respectful. There are ways to be kind. There's always a way to deliver the truth from kindness. But when you're delivering what you call truth from a space of fear, you are delivering it through the filter of your own pain and your own fear and your own disrespect, and however it is that you lash out when you're feeling discombobulated inside. Because the diminishing and the demeaning and the hoax and all of that comes from a space of fear. Whether those who say it want to face that fear or not. If you are one of those who has said it, look at yourself very closely. Do you do this in your real life? Do you drop bombs on people that you love and then walk away because, well, that's not my problem to deal with that they reacted that way? It's a problem in the spiritual community. It's a problem in the I'm just being real communities. It's a problem in the circles who say, have their conspiracy things that they do, and they come in and tell everyone they're stupid and walk away. How you deliver your message is just as important as the message itself, because it says a lot about you from the inside. But not for those people receiving the message, for you. Because your most important journey is self-awareness, is self-love, is self-healing. That's why we're here, is to heal ourselves. And as we heal ourselves, we are healing the world. As we change within, we are changing the energy of the world. We are on a solitary journey in a group setting, each one of us. And yet what we do affects every other person in this world. It's a very intricate weaving of energies and lives and layers of dimension and layers of generational healing and layers and layers and layers and layers. It's not an easy topic. It's not an easy situation. However, this is space where honoring the feelings of others can shift you, can change you, can help you to get in touch with your own feelings about the situation. Because when we are in a space of fear, diminish, demean, hoax, y'all are stupid, when we're in that space, we're no longer open mind, open heart. And open mind, open heart is necessary for growth, no matter what the topic is. And that's the space that we all need to be in right now, open mind, open heart. Because this is going to get worse before it gets better. Whether it's horrible or not, people will die. People are dying. That's not made up. One person dying is too many if it could have been prevented. And this is the space that we need to be in. Healing, empathy, understanding. Let's soothe the fears rather than add to them. If somebody is posting things that you don't agree with, whether that's because they're saying it's going to be horrible or whether it's because they're saying it's a hoax, don't engage. Allow them their space to believe as they will. If you know that person personally and you're worried for them, maybe their level of fear is too high, or maybe their anger is extreme, reach out to them from a space of empathy. Are you okay? I saw your post and I want to make sure you're okay. I care. This is a time for us to unite, even when we disagree. Fear does not discriminate. The virus does not discriminate. And now we're sitting in this space where the fear is brewing. And we may or may not be equipped to deal with that fear. It is your personal journey and your personal reactions and your personal words that will make the difference in this situation. Not just for you, but for everyone. Because if each person is responsible for their own words and their own emotions and their own actions, now we have a whole world full of people who are being self-aware. I love you guys so much. I'm super grateful that you stuck it out with me. I hope that this message, as they wanted me to deliver it, was clear. I don't remember much of what I said, to be honest with you. I think that it was coming through pretty clearly through me. So I'll have to come back and watch it later, y'all. I don't watch my shows until afterwards. I don't know what I said most of the time until after I watch it. And then I'm kind of like, oh, that's good, because the shows are always for me. See, it's always for me first. The knowledge is always for me first. You never taught me that? Taught me, Dave. We don't run in the same circles anymore, but that's where I learned that. The message is always for me first. I already knew that, but I didn't know it in this human, and it had to be pointed out to me at the very beginning of my journey. To recognize that when you're saying those things to other people, that message is for you first. Look at it closely before you spit it out there. All right, y'all, I'm gonna go. I love you. Please stay safe. When you're having that fear, take a deep breath. Honor it, but don't live in it. Honor those who are in fear. Respect their feelings and their rights to their own feelings. And have some empathy for everyone, whether they believe what you believe or not. Love you guys.